How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having an awesome day so far. Recently, we were blessed by id Software to have another trailer for Doom Eternal, and this one was epic, to say the least. It's been a minute since the last bit of news or reveal, so this was very much needed for those who were starving for more. In this video, I wanted to do a breakdown of everything that happened in the trailer, at least the major things along with some small speculations. There's a ton that happens in this trailer, and I'll definitely have more videos lined up going more in depth of what is shown. Doom Eternal is not too much farther down the road, so now is the time to get even more hyped for the game. Be sure to subscribe if you are new here, and if you are into Doom and similar games, then you are in the right place. The second story trailer has a ton more info and details that explain a lot, and at the same time gave us more questions. At this point, I have watched it at least 50 times now, and have seen a lot of details that could potentially answer some fan theories that have circulated over the past few years, as well as some interesting things to point out. The start of the trailer shows the destruction of both the moon and Earth from space. At this point, we don't know for sure what could have caused the moon to be destroyed, but I have a theory that I'll mention a bit later in the video. One other thing I wanted to point out though was the date that was displayed, which may give us a sense of how much time has passed from Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. From what I could find in the codex entries in Doom 2016 is that the entry for the Titans realm shows that the second Project Lazarus manned expedition was during the year 2148. That expedition was after they found the Slayer's sarcophagus, so it may have been pretty close to the time of the events of Doom 2016. So it could be safe to say that by the time Mars was invaded, it could have taken place either around 2149 or 2150, making it about a year or so between the two games. In my opinion, I don't think Hell would have invaded Earth overnight, so it might have taken a little bit of time to kill billions of people. Just something to chew on. Moving on, we can see that Earth has burnt runes on its surface, including a pentagram, another rune, and a floating object off to the right of the planet. The Slayer seems to be on a sentinel kind of building that must have teleported to the orbit of Earth. This could potentially be the hub or where the Slayer was sent to after Doom 2016. Moving ahead in the trailer at this location, it definitely will be towards the beginning of the game due to the Slayer equipping himself before heading into the portal. He can be first seen without his helmet, so he was relaxing for a bit before heading out to RipNtear. He also grabbed the combat shotgun and equipped his Doomblade. If you notice the Slayer mark on the floor, it's the same as the one here, where he examines his blade as if he just put it on his arm. Also, his equipment launcher is not attached to him, so either he will get that a bit later, or it was just removed for the trailer. In Doom 2016, grenades weren't available until about halfway through the level called the UAC, so it might be something like that in this one. Going back a little in the trailer, we get to see a present-day Titan walking around amongst the destruction of Earth. This is the same Titan that is in the battle mode map, so there's definitely a possibility that there are more of them in the game. After the scene of the Doomslayer grabbing his combat shotgun, we can see the Tower of Babel and what's left of two Titans that fought each other. The one on the left was definitely a Titan from Hell, and the one on the right is a machine of sorts, and was from the Sentinels during their unholy crusade. The armor resembles Sentinel armor due to the symbols and the red circle found on the chest, which is the same that the Doomslayer has on his armor. However, there may be something going on with that and the Marauders as well as the Fallen Knight Sentinels, but that will be a topic for another video. The tower could also be the source of the invasion, as it appears to act like the Argent Tower, sending a beam of Argent energy up into the sky, creating a massive portal. I guess we'll find out for sure in the game. Going forward, we can see some more destruction of what Hell has done to Earth. Here we see a cargo plane that actually says UACF on the side, and it crashed through a building. Considering the UAC is the biggest corporation on Earth, it would make sense that they have an air force of some kind. If you look closer, you can see that the plane crashed through either a sign or billboard that has the UAC logo. Just an interesting thing I noticed. Before moving on, I also wanted to point out the mech that is off to the bottom left. That is the same kind of mech that was seen on the reveal from the gameplay we saw back in 2018. So either those mechs will have a part to play in the game, or were just something that the armies of Earth used when fighting Hell. If the latter was the case, then you can imagine how the fighting against Hell would have been like. Maybe the DLC for Doom Eternal will show some of those mechs in action, as the DLCs will show someone else's perspective of the invasion on Earth. Moving on, we see a huge bell that most likely fell from a church as a way to show some imagery of nothing is safe during the invasion, especially religions. It could even be from something else as well. After that, we see a pit that is most likely in hell and seems to resemble the soul extractor concept art that was shown a while back. Looks like we'll be able to explore this part of hell and get to know more of what their plans are with the soul extractor. At this part, we can see the Slayer put on his helmet and get a good view of his head and face. Considering Doom 2016 was a reboot, this may clarify that the Doom Slayer is not the original Doom guy, as he had blonde hair. However, the lighting is dark and the Doom Slayer could still be a Doom guy in this rebooted version of Doom. Something to talk about in another video for sure. It's crazy to see how many scars he has all over his entire face and head. The beginning of Doom 2016 showed that he had scars all over himself, but we weren't sure if he had scars on his face. Well, now we know. The next part I wanted to focus on was who was talking during this section.
Saving your people will not bring you peace. Only make the burden you carry worse.
It's someone obviously talking to the Doom Slayer, but they are very calm and sound as if they are a type of mentor or even a friend. I'm thinking this could be the hooded figure. We don't know for sure that the hooded figure is even the Seraphim, but it could be someone who has mentored the Slayer or even taught him some skills in the past. Definitely someone of interest. The next little bit, we see the Doom Slayer walking between Night Sentinels while the Con Maker is speaking to him. Seeing Night Sentinels in the present make it seem as if there were actually survivors of the Unholy Crusade and the fall of Argent-D'Nur. Not to mention, these Sentinels now have a type of spear rather than a sword like the one seen in Doom 2016. So either they are new Sentinels or just upgraded their weapons. The interesting thing though is that they were mainly created to protect the Wraiths in Argent-D'Nur. So if they are here, what are they protecting now? Something to think about for sure. The next part, we see the Slayer in what looks to be hell, and then the Con Maker appearing to him as a projection of sorts. It's unclear what she is doing here. Is she providing info to the Slayer, or is she warning him of his current actions? For the most part, it seems that the Makers are sided with hell, so it'll be interesting to know their endgame besides warning humanity to repent of their sins. Just as the Con Maker mentions to the Slayer that they made others sacrifice themselves for the Maker's prosperity, we see Samuel Hayden in not the best shape. If what she is saying has anything to do with Hayden and wants humanity to experience the apocalypse, then it actually could be possible that Hayden is responsible for the invasion. I mentioned something like this in an earlier video of mine, but with trailers, they tend to trick us. This could be about something entirely different. She goes on to say that the Slayer, who is human, defies what they call tradition. This could be where the Slayer is fed up with what heaven, or rather the Makers, are planning to do and starts his own crusade against them along with hell. The Slayer has zero tolerance when it comes to Makers allowing the deaths of innocent lives, all for the sake of having them repent. After her finishing her lecture to the Slayer, the trailer gets real as the Hellwalker pumps the shotgun and starts the party. That new soundtrack from Mick Gordon sounds amazing and really sets the mood for the game. It was awesome that we got to hear a good amount of the soundtrack right before the trailer started on their Twitch stream as well. At the start of the actual gameplay in the trailer, we can see a better view of the Cyber Mancubus, the Tyrant, and the second mod for the rocket launcher, which shoots 3 rockets at a locked-on target. I'm a huge fan of this version of the Cyber Mancubus, as well as the one in Doom 2016. This version looks really cool and I can't wait to fight them. Something I've noticed in this short scene is that there is a dead Titan in the background. This area seems to be part of Sentinel Prime or the Sentinel Vista area, so not only were there Sentinel mechs fighting other Titans in Hell, but the Titans were fighting them in Sentinel Prime as well. Also, it's hard to see in real time, but the Slayer kills a Prowler really fast. The next part shows the Slayer jumping up to another platform in Hell and shoots a green target that triggers part of the ceiling to crush the demons underneath it. This is definitely a callback to the original games where there were traps that could not only crush demons, but Doom Guy as well. Moving on, we see the Doom Hunter fighting alongside a Mancubus in the same area that the teaser showed a while ago. The Slayer uses the second mod for the chain gun, which provides a shield which, as we can see, can be very beneficial when used in the right situations. One other thing I noticed from this area is the Slayer statue directly behind the Doom Hunter. In the Game Awards teaser, it was kind of tough to make out who was the statue, but here we can clearly see that it is the Slayer. In fact, the statue was someone different in the Game of the Year Awards teaser, so I wonder why they made the change. The next scene shows a Hell Knight about to be beaten to a pulp. Besides that happening, we can see that the area is on the Maker's homeworld, Urdak, as you can see the red trees and the environment matching the artwork and other reveals of the world. Interesting to see demons in this place, right? If Urdak is supposedly heaven, then either heaven was invaded or something else. After that scene, we see a bit of the cultist base from outside, while seeing the player getting a good headshot on a zombie man and Glory killing the Mancubus. The next part is very interesting. It shows what seems to be Night Sentinels, but in black armor and red argent tips on their spears. It's possible that they are fallen Night Sentinels and were protectors for one of the Hell Priests, as you can see someone laying on the ground between the Slayer and the Sentinels. This Hell Priest may be one of the three from the cover artwork, as you can see that he had a staff. It's tough to see at this angle who exactly it was, but it was for sure one of them. After the Slayer is confronted by the Sentinels, a portal appears behind the Slayer, so it could be possible that someone is helping the Slayer throughout the campaign. Maybe the hooded figure again, or someone else. The next part is really fast, but by pausing at the right spot, you can see that Urdak has opened a portal to Earth, as you can see a burned pentagram on the surface. The Con Maker is also doing some kind of attack or energizing something. After that, we finally get to see the interaction between the Marauder and the Slayer. It's interesting why the Marauder says that the Slayer is a usurper and a false idol.
You are nothing but a usurper, a false idol.
For those who may not know what usurper means, it is a person who takes a position of power or importance illegally or by force. For someone to say something like that to the Slayer could mean that this is more evidence that the Marauder is the betrayer. Think about it. He would have to have more of a motivation to betray his entire race other than the fact that Hell could have resurrected his fallen son. What if he was jealous of the Slayer, as he was able to become the leader of the Night Sentinels and practically the ruler of Sentinel Prime due to all the statues of him all over the place? On top of that, if the Slayer wasn't originally from Argent D'Nur, then he could have been considered an outsider and not have a legitimate claim to the Night Sentinels, etc. So the betrayer could have been angered by the situation and struck a deal with De Graaf as a way to not only attempt to get his son back, but also to try to get rid of the Slayer. Now, of course, the betrayer didn't get exactly what he was promised, so he could have become demonized as part of the deal and trained to be a Doomslayer for the forces of Hell. Now, that may be entirely wrong, but let me know what you all think about that, as now we have a bit of more information on this character. The next scene shows a huge arm reach above the Slayer. Unfortunately, it's really tough to make out what exactly it is, but I have recently seen people in the community say that it could be the Icon of Sin. Hopefully that is the case, but if not, maybe something just as cool. Okay, at this part we can see the Slayer running to the edge of the platform that is on Urdak, and as he jumps off you can see Earth and what seems to be a weapon of some kind. This would be part of my moon theory, as the makers could have used this weapon, if it even is a weapon, to destroy the moon, and now they are planning on destroying all of Earth. Honestly, it's kind of a long shot with this theory, but let me know what you think about the moon. Who destroyed it, or what caused it to look that way? The last part before things get real fast is the part where the Slayer pulls out the crucible from what seems to be a forge. This place could be where the Wretch is located, as the Slayer went to him to update his armor before the events of Doom 2016. We also get an awesome pose by the Slayer, which is no doubt something from He-Man, and then he pulls the sword in front of his face. The last bits are really fast, and I'll briefly talk about them the best I can. We see the Doomblade with the Slayer mark on the ground, which I mentioned earlier. You can see a close-up of the Dread Knight tasting a bite of the Doomblade, which is somewhere in the area of the Tower of Babel. The Fire Baron is not on fire anymore with the Ice Bomb. The Tyrant gets an eye exam. And then of course here we finally get to see the Gladiator in action. So his mace does indeed extend, as that was a fan theory. On top of that, he seems to be quite the adversary, as you won't be able to blow up his shield with the plasma rifle, and he seems to be protected by other demons as well. It'll be an interesting boss fight for sure. After that, there's a close-up of Whiplash getting its head cut off with a chainsaw. Then after that, the Slayer Falcon kicks the carcass to pieces. This next shot is actually based off of a cultist concept art. On the concept you can see the 3 skulls, and on the trailer you can see them, but with red lights instead of yellow, and the environment is slightly different. I wonder what goes on in this area. After that scene, we finally get to see the second mod for the Ballista. It shoots a horizontal blade that will cut its victims in half. I wonder if this will only work on weaker demons or for everyone. Other than that, this environment is actually the Soul Extractor at ground level, as you can see the similarities from the concept art, but then there tends to be more of a blue color instead of red. Not much to see here, just a bunch of gibs all over thanks to the BFG 9000. And finally, the best for last, the Crucible blade in action. First of all, I really loved how they synced up the blade cuts with Rip and Tear in the soundtrack. Second of all, the Crucible is such a powerful weapon. If it can cut a tyrant into pieces like that, then this weapon would definitely be something that will be rarely used. I'd like to know for sure how to get ammo, or at least how to activate it, unless it'll take up the last weapon slot instead of the pistol. Only time will tell, I suppose. This trailer was packed full of so many things, and I was surprised that it was decently long as well. The last trailer was under 2 minutes, and this one was a bit longer. This trailer really shows how much hard work id Software has been putting into the game. Bethesda has also done very well with the marketing, and it's great to see these two companies working together to release one of the best games to experience since Doom 2016. I really appreciate the hard work, and I'd like to personally thank all the developers at id for their passion for making the best games. Not too much longer until Doom Eternal, and the hype is still going strong. I hope you all enjoyed my breakdown of this trailer. This video is a bit longer than usual, and I've been working on it for quite some time. I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and also share it so we can get it out there more. Doing that would really help out the channel. Thank you all for the support. I really enjoy being part of the Doom community, and it's always great to talk with everyone about everything Doom. Also, be sure to check out my social media accounts at RipNtear Gaming to stay up to date with other things over there as well. Until next time, fellow Slayers, don't forget to rip and tear. Peace.